Good morning, everybody. I know we got a lot of excitement here at the Capitol today. I just want to thank you all for being here. I want to thank the great First Lady, Marty Kemp, for being with us today. I also want to thank a couple of guys that have really been working with us on multiple things leading up to the legislative session, and certainly today is no different. Our Lieutenant Governor, Burt Jones, and Speaker of the House, John Burns. We appreciate you guys. Also, my fellow constitutional officers, especially our Insurance Commissioner, General John King, who spent a lot of time over the last year working on behalf of this effort. And we're honored to have Congressman Mike Collins with us today. Mike, thank you for your leadership on the Lake and Riley Act. I also want to thank the rest of the leadership and the General Assembly and the members that are here with us today. As you can see, way too many to name, which we are very appreciative of that. But also especially want to just thank these rank and file, hard-working Georgians that are with us today that you see behind us and beside us for being such great partners. I just want to thank you all for being such great partners in addressing one of the biggest issues facing our state. Lastly, I want to thank the President Pro Tem of the Senate, Senator John Kennedy, who's going to be carrying these two pieces of legislation. We appreciate your leadership, Senator. As you know, over the last year, my administration has gathered the data. We have listened to our constituents and job creators and received input from stakeholders across the spectrum when it comes to improving Georgia's legal environment. Starting last session, as you know, we passed and I signed House Bill 1114, which gave the Insurance Commissioner's Office and General John King the tools that he needed to take a deep dive on our state's insurance marketplace. The Commissioner and his office found a long list of concerning data points. The 5-year average of claims has increased 25%, much faster than the growth in our population. The percentage of cases with legal representation that awarded the full limit of the insurance policy continues to increase, far outpacing those without. And the number of large claim awards over $1 million also has steadily increased. I appreciate Commissioner King and his team working so diligently on this and coming forward with hard facts, but also potential solutions to these problems. As you all know, we didn't just stop at gathering data. We wanted to hear from hard-working Georgians on the ground trying to start, operate, or grow their own business. As a small business owner myself for over 35 years, I know that sometimes policymakers lose sight of what's really going on with our entrepreneurs who are trying their best to keep the lights on, hire and retain employees, and put food on the table for their loved ones. Our team invited legislators and job creators from all corners of the state to 3 separate roundtables to better understand what they're facing and how we can have their backs. What we heard at the roundtables supported Commissioner King's report, highlighted that the status quo is unacceptable, and confirmed that tort reform is desperately needed. I think you can certainly see that here today. As I said in my State of the State address, their experiences range from double or triple-digit insurance premium increases to not even being able to find coverage altogether. Others knew they couldn't afford to fight frivolous cases for years at the cost of hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars, even when they had a good case. In our healthcare industry, we heard the impact of Georgia's civil practice laws are widespread and unsustainable. Young doctors and healthcare providers choosing other states to practice, hospitals facing ever-increasing costs, and facilities forced to limit the services they provide just to stay afloat. The end result of these stories isn't theoretical. It is real. It is very real to the future of our state and the future prosperity of our families and communities. If your neighborhood doesn't have a grocery store, if your hometown and surrounding counties don't have an OBGYN, if the local family-owned restaurant is forced to raise prices again and again or go out of business altogether, if the child care facility your son or daughter attends has to close its doors, if your car insurance premium goes up, just like it did last year, those are real jobs, potentially gone forever. Those are real costs that every single Georgian has to pay. Grocery stores, hospitals, road pavers, small business owners, truckers, restaurants, mom and pop stores, retailers, gas stations, doctors, child care facilities, and hardworking Georgians across our state are all telling us the same thing. Georgia needs tort reform, and they need it now. As you can see and hear, every single one of the people standing behind me, beside me, above me, all over us, can all agree on something. As elected officials, it is time for us to listen to our citizens. The legislative package my office will introduce today did not come together by accident. We have done our homework. We have listened to every stakeholder in every industry. The legislation was crafted to be comprehensive, but also reasonable. First, I believe that business owners have a responsibility to keep their customers and the public safe on their premises, but they should not be held liable for criminal acts of a third party outside of their control. Our legislation will address premises liability and ensure we support job creators who simply want to open their doors, employ hardworking Georgians, and serve their local communities. Second, the legislation will protect the authority of our jurors to decide damages for pain and suffering instead of attorneys on both sides of a case throwing out imaginary numbers in an attempt to influence the jury's decision-making. Next, we believe liability should be established before a jury can hear details and evidence of plaintiff's damages. Our bill allows parties to request trial bifurcation so that both sides are able to give their side of the story clearly and in a timely manner. I believe it's safe to assume that everyone here today wore their seatbelt on the way to the Capitol. Unfortunately, under current Georgia law, if you have been involved in a car accident with someone who recklessly chose not to wear their seatbelt, that evidence could not be shown to the jury at your trial. This simply defies common sense, and our bill will rectify that. It's also common sense that attorneys shouldn't be able to collect compensation on the same case twice. This legislation will ensure they can be paid what they are rightfully owed, but only once. Currently, if a plaintiff and their attorney begin a trial and don't like how it's going, they can file for dismissal, attempting to cherry-pick a different court venue and try the case all over again. This is simply unfair to the defendant, the court, the jury, and the taxpayers who foot the bill for these public services, not to mention delaying justice for all involved. Our legislation makes it clear that as a plaintiff, you don't get multiple bites at the apple. The bill simply aligns Georgia's procedures with the federal civil standard on this issue and also on the procedure for a defendant's motion to dismiss. The final two issues included in my administration's tort reform package will ensure truth in damages and transparency in third-party litigating funding. I firmly believe that if you have been harmed, you deserve justice, and you deserve to be made whole in court. However, In our state, juries are prevented from knowing how much a plaintiff actually paid in medical cost. Instead, the awards to the plaintiff are based on initial medical bills that are rarely the true amount plaintiffs actually pay and are often astronomically higher than what is paid. Our legislation simply requires the plaintiff to show the jury their actual medical costs when the jury is deliberating on that compensation. And finally, our courtrooms and their proceedings should not be cash cows for hostile foreign adversaries through unregulated litigation funds. Our legislation will do the following: ban hostile foreign adversaries like China, Russia, or others from financing suits against Georgia companies to gain intellectual property or pursue their own political agenda. Require any litigation financiers to register with the Georgia Department of Banking and Finance. Establish basic guidelines for litigation funds that protect consumers and plaintiffs from predatory practices like bogus fees or sky-high interest rates. And make third-party litigation agreements discoverable by the other party in a case. It is good to remember also the bill we passed last year, HB 1114, will work alongside our new package to hold insurers accountable as the provisions under the new legislation are passed and implemented by continuing the reporting requirements that have informed our latest measures. As I have said earlier, this package is definitely comprehensive, but it's also definitely fair. Georgians should have every opportunity to pursue their constitutionally guaranteed day in court. And if they were wronged, they should be made whole. Our juries should have all of the evidence at their disposal to make a decision, not just one side of the story. And our businesses and hardworking Georgians need relief from the increased cost of doing business, having car insurance, or getting access to health care. I believe this package accomplishes those goals and strikes the right balance. It achieves meaningful tort reform this session as opposed to a second one later this year. But most importantly, it puts hardworking Georgians first. It ensures that our state will continue to be the best place to live, work, and raise a family for generations to come. So thank you all for being here. We're looking forward to getting to work on this legislation. May God bless you, and may God continue to bless the great state of Georgia. Thank y'all very much. Thank y'all very much, and with that, it's my honor to turn the podium over to our Lieutenant Governor, Burt Jones.
All right, thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you, Governor. That was a great synopsis, and I appreciate your leadership on this. Good to be with the Speaker, the Commissioner here, my Congressman, Mike Collins, and our author of John Kennedy here. It's good to have all of you here. The Governor summed it up pretty well. This has been our #1 issue throughout the year that we've had to address, from individual small businesses, large businesses, from retail to manufacturing to trucking. Literally every aspect of the state, every business aspect of the state has been affected by this. I want to just make very clear to everyone here, this is not an anti-lawyer bill. This is not a pro-insurance, big insurance company bill. This is a pro-Georgia consumer bill, is what this is. And if you don't think you're affected because you don't own a small business or you're not a part of a big business, rest assured you are affected, because if you have homeowners insurance, if you have car insurance, the rates that you receive is affected by the environment that we're in right here. And that environment right now is not playing well to the consumer. So I want to just make sure that we keep focus on who we're here to represent, and that is citizens of Georgia and the legislative body here between our Senate and our House, who are all on board with making sure we put together a comprehensive piece of legislation that helps the Georgia families and consumers and small businesses as a whole. I want to thank Governor Kemp for his leadership on this. We have worked very hard in the last year in putting together this package for this legislative session. I want to thank the Speaker for all his hard work, and I also want to welcome the industries that are going to be affected by this bill. We're happy to meet with you. We've been very clear about that. We're happy to meet with all parties, but at the end of the day, we just want to let you know that we are representing the citizens of Georgia, and we're looking out for their best interests. And for too long, people we live in a society now where nothing is your fault anymore. It's always somebody else to blame. And insurance and consumers are made, insurance is set up to make you whole. That's the definition of it. It is not a lottery ticket. And too many times it's been treated like that. So I want to thank, once again, the governor, and I also look forward to working with the Speaker, because I know he has plenty to say about this, because whatever comprehensive language comes up with, I know the best language is going to come from the Senate. So everybody, thank y'all. Y'all welcome the Speaker of the House here.
Thank you, Lieutenant Governor Jones. I think. But Governor Kemp, thank you for your leadership on this issue. It is important to all Georgians, but I want to pause and divert just a second. Congressman Collins, thank you for your leadership in Washington on passing the Lake and Raleigh Act. And thank you for being here with us today. Well, you all know, and y'all do as well back there, because of this announcement, because of this progress, it's a great day to be a Georgian. It's going to be a great day to be a Georgian in the days that come. Today, we are celebrating another step in the right direction for our state as we continue championing policies that keep Georgia the best place to live, work, and raise a family and do business for generations to come. It's no secret, we like to brag, for 11 consecutive years, Georgia has been named the #1 place in this country in which to do business. We're proud of that. This historic accomplishment is not by accident. I think we all realize that. Rather, it is a result of decades of strategic, conservative, common sense legislation and leadership from our state's governors, General Assembly, and our local officials. While we're all proud of those accomplishments, we know that we must continue pushing forward legislation that secures our success in the future. During the interim, I was glad to join Governor Kemp, Lieutenant Governor Jones, Commissioner King at the roundtables around this state where we heard from Georgia's businesses about the issues they are facing. And one thing each day was abundantly clear. The cost of insurance is crippling many businesses in this state who are already struggling to stay afloat with the high cost of inflation and policies that we're going to change. We know that sensible, measured lawsuit reform is needed to return stability to our insurance market and balance to our courtrooms. The House over the years has championed several pieces of lawsuit reform, including direct action and bad faith claims legislation that we passed last year. But we're looking forward to supporting Governor Kemp, his comprehensive plan that will continue to balance the scales of justice and stabilize insurance rates in Georgia. All the while protecting the rights of Georgians with legitimate claims for damages and bringing our legal environment in line with our neighboring states. Governor Kemp, thank you for your strong, forward-looking leadership on this issue. The future of our economy, our business environment, and our state depends on getting this job done right. And the Georgia House stands ready to support your efforts this session. Thank you all for being here, and it's my great It's my great honor and pleasure to introduce a great partner in this process, our Insurance Commissioner, General John King.
Governor, thank you so much for your courage. I know that a lot of people would have shied away from this. This is probably one of the toughest tasks that any governor or any legislature can tack on. I'm Georgia's Insurance Commissioner. I do not work for insurance companies. I work for the people of Georgia. I am the advocate for the consumer. My number one task is to represent the people of Georgia to make sure they have access to affordable and high-quality insurance products. We are out of balance, and this legislative package addresses that problem. I never forgot, as an Atlanta police officer, I never worked north of North Avenue. I work in Southeast Atlanta, in those small convenience stores where the majority of Georgians buy their groceries are getting snuffed away. People are having to drive farther and farther away to get their basic groceries. We want to talk about food deserts. This is what's causing the food deserts. People not having access to affordable, high-quality insurance. This legislation addresses. I look forward to continuing to work, not only to hold the insurance industry accountable, but also working with the legislature. Thank you all so much.
All right, well, thank you, General King, Speaker Burns, Lieutenant Governor Jones, the rest of the members of the General Assembly that are here, and as I said earlier, just a lot of our hardworking Georgians that are here, representing a lot of other hardworking Georgians that are not. We are ready to go to work on your behalf, and with that, we'll open it up for questions. Well, look, we know this is a legislative process. I think as General King just said, the market here is out of balance. We're not trying to go from over here to way over here. We're just trying to get back and be on par, as the Lieutenant Governor and the Speaker and I have talked about, with what our neighboring states and other states that we're competing with on the front lines of bringing more jobs to our state, growing existing industries, and having a business environment that continues to keep our state moving in the right direction. So we're not asking to do something that's completely out of the box here. We're just trying to get on a level playing field with those states that are around us and others like Texas that we're competing against in this marketplace. And that's why I keep saying, you know, this is comprehensive legislation. We feel like it's very reasonable in the things that we've done. We know that there may be people on the other side of this issue that disagree with that. But at the end of the day, like I said, we got to get something done now. The people around me right now, the people above me, we cannot afford even another year of this. And that is why we need to do this session, do that this session. If we don't, we'll have another one this year to tackle this issue. But also, let me just make it clear that as the Lieutenant Governor said, and as the Speaker said, and as I've said, we will sit down and have sat down with both sides of this issue. If you have been wronged in our state, you should be able to be made right through a judicial process. I think everybody here that's in support of this legislation believes that. The problem is our tort laws here are out of balance with having that happen. And all we're trying to do is have a level playing field that's good for people on both sides of this issue. And so, you know, just saying, no, I don't like this, to me, that is not a good answer. If you can, if there's something you don't like and you can bring a resolution to make it better, perfect the legislation, we'll certainly work through that as it goes. But today we're introducing a piece of legislation that we feel like is comprehensive but also reasonable, and we're going to be pushing hard to get that done. Well, like I said, balanced, comprehensive, and reasonable. We've been down the CAPS road before. There may be others in this building that are interested in looking at that. We'll certainly be willing to talk with them and anybody else that thinks that needs to be a piece of the puzzle. But for us, the package we have will move us in a direction that I feel like will be good for our state. It's also a package that I feel like we should be able to get the votes on. And I think you can see by the members that are here today, by the constituencies that are represented and representing people and industries all across our state, like they know we have to do something. I mean, I just had a guy call me yesterday and said, look, I can't be at the Capitol today, but I want to thank you for having the courage to take this issue on. But like, I can't even put my name on my company trucks anymore because I feel like I'm going to be targeted. That's when things are out of balance in our state. Well, I think the Democrats would be foolish not to support the hardworking people in their district.
Hey.
And we're going to be working with them to convince them of why they should vote for this, not necessarily trying to call them out or twist their arm at this point. But I can tell you, everybody that's here today that's affected by this issue, I have heard you. Now it's time for them to hear you as well. And I think that's going to be a very important part of this process. I think all the industry advocates that are out there, the small business owners like myself and many members of the General Assembly, this is not an issue where legislators need to hear from your lobbyist. You need to hear from people in your district, your small town grocery store, your paving contractors, your trucking companies, your lawn maintenance business, your grading companies, your healthcare professionals. They need to be telling you the stories because that's where it's really impactful. And that's not just happening in Republican districts. It's happening in every single district in our state. And I believe that there will be some Democrats that realize that and will end up supporting the legislation. And look, if they don't, then they're going to have to answer for that at the ballot box. Y'all good? All right, thank y'all for being with us. Appreciate it. Have a great day.